Thanks for purchasing our Elizabeth automatic eyelet machine. After you've uncrated the machine, you'll be able to go around to the rear. You will find the operation foot pedal and the power cord just tucked in this little recess at the back for crating purposes and transport. You can unpack those, set your foot pedal in place, connect your main power, and then go about doing a physical inspection of the machine to make sure it's transported okay before switching it on. We have run, cleaned and tested your machine prior to it leaving our facility in Melbourne before you've arrived at your site. Switching on the main power on the side of the control box there engages the main contactor. There's also a series of switches on the front side, one being the power. You'll see the LED appear, the motor, engaging the hoppers, and the right hand side switches on the laser switch, which will help align the center of your eyelets. Obviously the machine may have a few that's transported with it, but incorporating the eyelets, or inserting the eyelets into the machine, is the next thing. On the 21mm machine, our most common seller, the left hand hopper bowl is where the actual eyelet will go, and on the right hand side is where the washer component would go. We would recommend, just as a matter of process for your own installation, you might want to perhaps super glue an eyelet and a washer on top of the casings there, just to give a visual reference for your operators to make sure they never get mixed up of which side has which inserted. When you're filling the hoppers, we would only generally fill the hopper bowls up to about the midway point, or the axle spindle, which is just below halfway. Yep. And you'll also see that as that's rotating, we can stop that, of course. There's a window there so you can see how many eyelets are in place. There we go. The next thing you'll want to do is just make sure that the laser is aligned correctly. What we've done here is we've taped on a piece of banner material and set an eyelet, and you can see that small piece of banner material we've just taped onto the bed plate of the machine so it doesn't move around. The little laser itself is fixed to an adjustable bracket which gives left and right and front and back movement. The main adjustment point for that machine is that nut just there, and that'll allow you to grab hold of that bracket whilst you're adjusting your laser section. Machines are very simple to operate and obviously very fast and effective. Your banner product inserted underneath, aligning it to the laser sight, depressing the foot pedal and setting an eyelet. Eyelets can be set in pretty quick succession, so depending on your product, if you're doing a core flute product or banner, obviously you'll be able to move them across and place them very effectively, very simply, and no duress for your operators at all. One of the features of our machines, apart from its productivity, is the safety. The guarding around our machine, around the main drive assembly and flywheel, is very substantial. The front covers here are very substantial, and critically, the guarding around the pinch point is very good. We've got a steel framed guard with Lexan wings, so really there's no real chance that someone can get their hands in that danger zone there and have any injury caused by that. What we've done now is we've removed all of the covers of the machines just to talk about some of the general adjustments that you might need to make during your weekly production, as well as your weekly maintenance and general quarterly maintenance of the machine. So you can make sure that you take care of it properly, and ultimately it'll take care of your production. So the first thing we want to talk about is the main adjustment for the compression point of the dies. Obviously, if we're die setting 2 layers of banner material, we can have these dies set so it compresses the eyelet quite tightly. But if we would then replace the next job with a 5mm core flute, we wouldn't want the dies crushing the eyelet as much, because it'll actually crush the core flute. So we want to reduce the amount of compression on the dies. How we do this is you take the 14mm spanner out of your toolkit, loosen off the lock nut at the bottom here, and then all you're doing is just unwinding, so loosening or tightening this adjustable bolt, which is essentially pushing up onto the die ram to set the compression. So by loosening that lower, of course we're just making that a lesser compression, and by raising it we're forcing that ram up higher, which will crush the eyelet further. So 14mm spanner, undo the lock nut, and then just loosen off that bolt or raise that bolt very marginally to see the results. You don't want to be excessive with those adjustments, and particularly going tall, because you don't want to crush them too tightly together, because you could jam the machine or in fact damage the die set itself. So modest adjustments, do some eyelet tests and see if you're happy with the results. If in the event you have adjusted your die set too high and caused the machine to jam during a cycle, for other reason it may have jammed during a cycle, how you go about unjamming the machine is obviously switching off the main power, and then coming across, loosening, taking off the cover. You'll be able to grab hold of the orange flywheel there and force it in a clockwise direction, which is reversing the direction of the operation, and that will free up the die set so it disengages. And then you might need to take some tweezers or whatnot to clear out any debris or whatnot that could be impact. This here is the stop motion section of the machine, of where the beginning of the cycle needs to be. If you're using the machine frequently, it's important that the machine gets regular lubrication. There's a couple of oil points on the machine that we're going to demonstrate now. Some of them are accessible by just swinging the main guard out of the way, one being this main cup at the back here. A couple of drops weekly in there with an engine oil. We find it's no good using a light grade sewing machine oil. It just works through the machines too quickly. A heavier grade oil is better to use. We also have another spot at the back of the mechanism there. You'll see that hole, just a couple of drops in there. And also up on top here, on this main wheel drive, there's a couple of oil holes there that will require a couple of drops. These ones here, of course, you can't really access without having the covers removed. So spending 5 minutes to remove the covers will give you clear access to all of these points. So we would recommend those lubrication points with oil, with an engine oil, are getting done on a weekly basis if the machine's getting frequent use. Quarterly, we would recommend that you again switch off the power, remove all of the covers, and also carry out a thorough clean inspection of the mechanics of the machine, and also the greasing of certain points. You can see that we have some grease cups here. We're just going to take this one off, and those cups need to be filled with grease. There's 2 of them, one there at the rear and one just about 6 or 8 inches to the right hand side at the more of the front housing there. We would recommend that on a weekly basis you're adjusting those grease cups by half a turn with the grease, and of course after you've wound it all the way in, that would indicate that the grease essentially that you had packed in there has been used. You would need to refill those cups and begin again. A couple of other points that will need grease applied to them is this gear set at the top. Just give that a bit of a grease in at that area there. on a quarterly basis. The grease cups, and also at the front of the machine, in on that section there, you could apply a bit of grease, which is removing the front green cover, which is essentially a face cover. You will notice that some of the external mechanisms used for the eyelet mechanism do have grease applied to them, and as you're go about the machine use, and in particular the quarterly cleaning of the machine, you might need to just liberally apply a little bit of grease on these areas. You want to make sure that it's not excessive, so it doesn't drop down onto your printed product, but they will need to be lubricated as well. Before receiving your machine from us, we would have done a system check, cleaned properly, and ran your machine to make sure it was functioning as it needs to. As part of your quarterly cleaning and maintenance routine, the tracks that have the eyelets and washers sliding through them will need to be cleaned. Removing all of these Allen key cap screws on both sides of the rails. Important to keep these rails not mixed up. Set them down somewhere so you know that the left and the right side are maintained. Sometimes they are stamped A and B. Keep the sets together. Clean that with a rag and some methylated spirits. Those tracks do not need any lubrication whatsoever. It's just important that they are clean and dust free. Otherwise, if you're finding that your eyelets or washers aren't presenting down to the die set properly and getting caught, it could be that there's just a bit of dirt and grime in there that needs to be cleaned out. So once again, thanks for purchasing a machine from Elizabeth Machines. We trust that this machine is going to be a valuable performer for your business. And please, if you have any questions about the operation, safety, or maintenance of your machine, please don't hesitate to call. Thank you.